We're go?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Vesuvius regular open meeting, September 27th, 2022 at 2 p.m. in council chambers. So first off, we will ask for an approval of that the regular open meeting be approved with the agenda laid out. Okay, Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you. And then there's the adoption of some minutes. The special open minute from August the 19th, the regular open minutes from August the 23rd, and the special open minutes from September the 2nd. We have a motion to adopt those, please. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Harvey, all in favor. Thank you. And we will go right down to water matters. And here we are. So you okay with that? Councilor
Big smile on it.
So water district 8 and 9 financial accounts. And to report on expenditures from accounts payable as of September the 27th. That would be in the amount of $68,648.63. Councilor Moore moving it, Councilor Appleby seconding it. Any questions or concerns?
No, I asked my question yesterday of the staff.
Okay, good. All right, so all in favor. Thank you very much, everybody. And we will now move to staff reports. And the first one is the Legion Beach Improvements Multi-Use Trail. Mr. Brownstein.
Thank you, Your Worship, for the staff report in regards to concerns raised by our accessibility and age friendly committee. In regards to the asphalt pathway being proposed around the splash park. The concern was that the surface temperature of that pathway may be detrimental to children across it. The department has reviewed the request of concrete surface for that particular section. That would require an additional cost of approximately $45,000 project. This is outside the budget parameters of the project, and there aren't enough funds to facilitate this change. However, the administration is recommending that we look at alternatives to concrete surface and actually look at putting a pavement coating down, which will reduce surface temperatures of the pavement for people using it. Which would be a capital cost of approximately $20,000.
Could you explain what that means? In other words, the asphalt surface?
So the asphalt surface will remain,
Yes.
and we'll actually be bringing in a contractor to basically paint the pavement. We will paint it either a tan color or a blue color or something along those lines with a reflective solar coating that actually reduces the surface temperature of the pavement.
Mr. Manager, with this paint, because we have such a hard town, would the paint kind of peel off in a short amount of time?
We're looking at anywhere between 20 and 25 years before we look at reapplication, and right now the contractor that is spraying this has not had to go back in the last 20 years to do any touch-ups or resurfacing.
And was there any thought of like paving the splash side and or cementing the park side and paving the south side under the tunnel?
That's what the $45,000 is, just to put concrete down on the
splash
side.
Okay. Thank
Wow.
you.
And that's the best option. I see you've got 4 of them here as well, but so putting down the asphalt and putting this coating on it just from by the splash park to the tunnel.
That is
That's
correct, Your
all?
Worship. Yeah.
Wow. I'm not sure. What would you suggest, council?
Well, I guess I'm on the accessibility committee representing the public. I could move option 1.
In other words, that we look at asphalt pavement coating alternatives to address concerns. Yeah. Is there anybody else who would like to second that? Go ahead. Any other discussion on this? All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Brownstein, and now the grant application for the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. You're gonna talk to that one too?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. This comes on the heels of a grant application we did last year in regards to flood mitigation planning for the community. That was a about $150,000 grant application that was successful on last year. And allowed us to review the impacts of wave action as well as flooding to the community and the community's infrastructure. That plan has not been finalized to date. It will be coming to council as a finalized plan, I'm hoping in the next few months. However, there was an opportunity to apply for some grant funding to address some of our higher risk projects that have been identified as part of that plan. There are 3 categories that we will be applying for in regards to this grant funding, and that is foundational activities like risk mapping, risk assessment and planning. Category 2, which is about structural activities such as land use planning, community education, purchasing of eligible equipment at $150,000 per community. And category 3, small scale structural activities such as banks, bank protection, bridge upgrades, relocation of infrastructure, flood areas, etc. And that's $2 million per community. We are going to put an application for all 3 categories. For category 1, we're going to look at a staged flood response plan. So that'll provide the community the ability to respond to change in the elevations that start to impact our infrastructure. And have those key set points set so that we know when to mobilize sandbags, when we need to mobilize higher dams, when we need to start evacuating certain areas of the community in regards to floodwaters. The second will be a floodplain land use regulation, and this is in cooperation with the Planning and Development Department. This is going to reset the flood construction level within the community. It's actually going to be raised, I believe, another meter than what it is right now. This is going to have some impacts on development in the future. This is going to have impacts on liability and risk to the community now. And we will look to establish actually a bylaw for flood construction within the community. And to really be some flood protection community for the community water wells. So we're actually looking at 2 sites right off the bat, and that'll be well 4, 5, and well 3. Both of those sites are within the 1 and 200 year flood event that are highly susceptible to flood impact. So out of the 3 that we're looking at a $21,700 initial cost for the update to the official community plan. We're looking at a $7,700 cost to develop the bylaw. $147,000 to address or to develop a flood response plan. To deal with wells 4 and 5, we're looking at an approximately $1.5 million upgrade from well 4 and 5 to get the electrical systems and that kind of stuff on the floodplain. And for well number 8, this is relocating the control structure of the floodplain. This is a $1.1 million project. And that is it for that.
Well, I'm glad that you're applying for grants.
So these grants are 100% funded. There is no responsibility of the community to share any costs. So
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarity, like you said, you wrote about last year, we have 150,000. Did we receive that money or?
yeah, that grant money has been received. That plan has been worked on, and this is the start of what is to come. So there are about, I think, about a dozen projects that are going to come out of this risk assessment, basically of our flood areas within the community. We picked these as our highest risks for the category 3, and category 1 and 2, there's simple administrative adjustments we can make to address this in the future.
So we spent 150 to get.
We spent 150 to get to here to ask for another 2.6 million potentially.
And they say the most you can ask for is 2.3.
Yes,
So how can you ask for 2.6?
sorry.
I just agree with you.
you're asking for the total amount.
Asking for the total grant. Yes.
Thank you. Well, certainly from the Okanagan Basin Water Board perspective, I totally agree with this, and I think that that these issues are really important to look at. You know, building in a floodplain, I think, is just is crazy at this stage, and certainly protecting wells and having a response plan are all very, very important aspects of this. So I'm in favor of this. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm in favor, but I guess just kind of a backup plan. This is 100% financing, but if you didn't get full funding, can we still kind of start with phase 1 or 2?
It's currently not in the budget, so this would be something we could bring into the 2023 and 2028 financial plan if this so needs. Currently, no.
And is there a timeline to submit this grant?
Timeline is another week. So I need recommendations from council as of today. Those
I'll make the motion, then you go forward with the grant.
Seconder, Councilor Bennett is seconding that. Any other concerns? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Do water councilors vote on this one or not? No.
Water, not all related.
Well, this is for the emergency preparedness fund, but I'm just wondering if they, no, they don't, okay. But you're listening, so.
We shall sit and
Okay, so,
I've been trying to solve this some time.
all in favor? Thank you, everybody. Okay, we will now move on to the, ALR exclusion application, Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So, before council today is an ALR exclusion application procedure, PLA -020, and our recommendation before council today is that the agricultural land reserve exclusion application policy be approved. So, just a little background here, the purpose of course of this report is to seek council's approval for the proposed agricultural land reserve exclusion application policy, and that policy has been prepared in response to Bill 15-2019, which now requires local governments to submit AR exclusion application directly to the ALC on behalf of landowners, and also requires that local governments establish how they will process such applications. So basically, I'm going to give you a little bit of background information, and then we'll move forward with consideration of the policy. So the Agricultural Land Commission, which is a provincial independent administrative tribunal, is tasked with the protection of agricultural land throughout British Columbia. The ALC was created in 1973 along with the ALR. The ALC's mandate, of course, is to authorize and broad regulations which are driven by the Agricultural Land Commission Act. Just to give you a little background there. And of course, additional detailed regulation of land uses and processes, and the implementation of some of the provisions of the Act are specified through a provincial regulation. These regulations are amended, of course, from time to time by cabinet's orders. And currently the Ministry of Agriculture, Fish and Food provides general direction to the ALC by managing the legislation. So as of September 30th, 2020, of course, that's 2 years ago, private landowners were no longer able to make applications to exclude their property from the ALR. Now we're in the midst of doing our OCP. So there really wasn't any impetus or movement in the application process at that time. So as a result of those amendments, in an effort to protect the size, integrity, and continuity of the land base of our agricultural lands, this bill 15-2019 was implemented and specifically speaks to the fact that only local governments, First Nations, or prescribed bodies may submit applications to exclude land to the ALC. So basically, they've advised us that the local government needs to only submit applications that it independently and objectively supports. And there's a $750 application fee to the ALC, which is to be paid by the local government, and of course, through the policy, we will collect that fee from an applicant. You do need to hold a public hearing. Again, that would, all those fees associated with the holding of a public hearing will be passed on to an applicant. And then we would bear the cost to satisfy the application requirements. In other words, the signage to prove the application. Again, we included those fees in the policy passed on to the applicant. So basically, in response to those changes, we placing the onus on us. Within its jurisdiction, we prepared this policy to indicate when exclusion applications would be considered by the town. And if you want to look for further information, if anybody's watching, the ALC actually has a guide also posted on their website. So we reviewed other jurisdictions before preparing this policy, and these gave us some ideas and examples on how their exclusion policies are being drafted. So this regulation is relatively new, and there wasn't too many areas that have proceeded, but we did prepare the attached policy. And again, it would only be used by a property owner within the town boundary who's interested in exclusion of their property. So there's actually 288 hectares of agricultural land reserved in a land in our town boundaries, and 91 hectares are designated for agricultural use. So in other words, we have properties that are designated, they're in the agricultural land in the ALR, but they're actually not designated in our OCP for agricultural use. This isn't a change from our previous OCP to this new OCP, just so you know, there's been no change to those lands. So I'll just give you an example. There are lands, for example, on Lakeshore Drive that are on the lakeside. They're like urban sized lots. They're actually still in the agricultural land reserve. So the town's growth management approach within the OCP contributes significantly to protecting the integrity of our agricultural land base. And as new development is only encouraged in areas with access to existing service infrastructure. In some instances, ALR exclusion applications may be considered by the town for ALC approval for parcels that are agriculturally inactive and are connected to existing servicing infrastructure. So that's an example of what I just gave you right there. So example is properties that are on Lakeshore Drive, that are serviced with sewer water, that don't have any agricultural development potential. They could be considered for exclusion. Just going on, so our urban containment boundary approach also dampens speculative expectations that adjacent ALR lands might be excluded from the future ALR. And also we're proposing that OCP's future land use designation be basically your determining factor. So that would be your first determining factor. If the future land use in the OCP is for single family residential, for example, council may support a request to exclude that land from ALR. The long term for the use for the property is used to be agriculture, we would not consider that. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this so far? It's a little bit complicated, but basically we're using the OCP as our guideline. So basically, we recommend that staff approve the proposed ALR exclusion application policy. And our options today for council to consider, and I'm sure there's going to be questions, are first off that council approves a ALR exclusion application policy PLA-020, or option 2 that council refers the policy back to staff for further changes, or option 3 that council does not approve the policy. And of course, the implications for the community, of course, the policy does assist us in the planning and development staff to streamline decisions, responses to ALR exclusion applications or inquiries. Organizationally, ALR exclusion applications procedure does also allows us, this development staff, to follow this when looking to apply for applications to the province, and there's no impact to our budget because we would collect the fees associated with the application. And sustainability, of course, PLA-020 seeks to protect the integrity of the town's agricultural land base and encourages new development opportunities in areas where existing servicing infrastructure and areas that are designated other than agriculture. So again, I've attached the policy here if anybody has any questions.
Yeah.
Sure they do. Okay,
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. A question around that your OCP identifies more likely the Meadowlark development in here. Is there any other ALR in town that's kind of that could be developed into property if people so desire?
So I'll give you another example. There is a property, for example, on Lakeshore Drive where we've been approached. It's a property that is designated as agriculture. It's used for single family. It has the potential to be subdivided into 2 lots. There's no agricultural uses on the property. It hasn't been used for agriculture. When it was
Forever.
severed, I would say, from the other properties, you know, I'd say over 20 years ago. So there are some anomalies like that around. With respect to the Middle Art Plan area, you'll recall that the previous council, previous director of planning at that time, Alan, worked with the ALC to come up with a plan to remove properties from the ALR on an as-needed basis to contribute to housing stock. That's the only other area that's specifically designated within the OCP for future exclusion on an as-needed basis.
But with this policy of identify a different piece of agricultural land, and as we grow, and he will ask to maybe turn it into residential, does this stop him basically because it's not in our OCP? plan?
No, so basically the way the policy works is that if it's designated as agriculture within the OCP, there has to be some significant benefit to the community to have council support the removal of a portion of land or land from the ALR.
My question was opposite to what he responded to. It's not in the OCP, but he wants to come forward and change from agricultural to residential.
So that's,
Does this stop him from doing it?
no, but that's what I'm suggesting. Thank you through the chair. If it's designated as agriculture in the OCP, and there's some rationale for them to want to come forward
It's not designated in the OCP.
as
Give it-
agriculture,
Okay, yes, okay, here, okay.
see what I'm suggesting to you? Thank you, Councillor King, through the chair. If it's designated as something other than agriculture, that is rationale to come forward. Is it designated as agriculture? There needs to be some compelling reason to come forward.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
No, I want to move on.
Oh, okay. And one more thing, can I just ask before this, the piece of property you're referring to that's in the agricultural land commission, the reserve, and what the owner wants to do is subdivide it. That you're telling us that he would have to go through an ALC review on that before he would be allowed to subdivide.
Correct. Thank you, Mayor
Okay,
McCora. That's exactly. This would allow that opportunity for proceed.
Okay, so, Councillor Bennett, you're moving option one, that the agricultural land reserve exclusion application be approved. Right? Is there a second for that? Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Any other questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. And now we have a letter of support being asked for the chamber. Take that, you
Yeah,
were gonna
thank
talk
you.
about that.
Thank you, Mayor McCora. Okay, so the recommendation here is that council provide a letter of support to the South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce in order for them to help continue their work in business retention and expansion and business engagement activities. Administration did meet with representatives from the South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce to discuss the chamber's work in and around our community. And the next intake for funding through the Economic Trust of the Southern Interior, which is at CBC, is from October 1st through November 1st, 2022. So the chamber is seeking support from the towns to include in their application package, and of course, the draft letter here provided for council's consideration. Any additions, deletions, changes, omissions can be made, of course, at council's request. And representatives will be coming forward with a presentation to council later this year with respect to their proposed projects and possible opportunities for funding in the future.
So, I know they asked me this morning, had I edited the letter that has my signature on it, and I do see one concern. Do you expect that from me?
I most certainly do, Mayor McCora.
Pardon?
Yes, I most certainly do.
I'll show you what it is
Okay.
after.
Certainly, thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a question?
No, I'm gonna move it.
Oh, you're moving.
Yeah, we support the letter.
Yeah, okay, and are you seconding that?
I'll second it since we got 3 ex-presidents on the council.
Oh.
So Jay, yeah, myself.
We're all like presidents of the, you're right. Okay, and because I'm on the director on NCBC, I support it as well. And there's just been a new intake out, which I sent to you this morning for, yes, that, and I don't know whether you have it in mind. You got it. Okay, good. Okay, so, it's been moved and seconded that we send the letter, all in favor. Thank you very much. That's carried, and now we will go to general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. And that the general cash requirements, Sun Bowl requirements, payroll accounts be received for information. And that would be in the amount of $1,840,000, $227. Sun Bowl of $31,407, and that payroll accounts of $356,495. So is there someone, option number one, or that we approve for information, or two, that we ask for additional information? Council, which one? Councilor Rhodes? Are you moving option one? We can't hear you.
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. We're always rather surprised at this time of year on the amount of the general cash requirements, but I believe it is part of the taxes that we have collected that needs to be paid to other agencies. Am I correct? Mr. Risney?
That is correct.
Okay. Did I ask? I've asked for that. But then moved and seconded. Okay.
Can you just vote, sorry, we didn't catch you that. You've asked if it's been moved and seconded.
No, I think I asked and we voted on it before I
Okay,
asked,
okay.
I asked, okay. So the next is the summary of the building permits. And we see that, interesting, there's one solar installation, and that's was a bit of a hot topic this week too, so. And a carport, fourplex, single family dwelling, total is $2,214,900, and total to date, $17,600,000, and total to date a year ago was $21,900,000. So it's a little bit, yes.
Just wanted to say, Mayor McCarroll, we are bound and determined to get that up over that 21 million.
Are you?
For Councilor Rhodes, so as he's usually comments on our building permit numbers.
Yeah.
But we do have some waiting in the wings, and we're just hoping to get those issued before end of the year.
Okay, because certainly some of them have been okayed. We've okayed them already. They just haven't started, so they haven't got a building permit yet, right?
Some of them have not been issued as well, Mayor McCarroll. They're just being
All right.
reviewed.
So I need a motion, please, to have the building permit received for information. Councilor Rhodes, Councilor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. Okay, next we will go on to bylaws, and that would be Ms. McKay.
Yes, thanks, Mayor McCarroll. So the recommendation before council today is that zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.143 2022 be read for a third time. So council recall that I granted first and second readings to this bylaw on July 19th, and public hearing was subsequently held on August 23rd. Now, if approved, the bylaw would allow for the rezoning of this subject property from the R1 or single family zone to the R2 single family small lot, which would accommodate a subdivision of the property into two small lots, which one of which would contain the existing home. So a zoning amendment is required. Subject property is currently zoned R1. This proposal would just allow for one additional lot. The property is an area that's designated as medium high density within the town's official community plan. It's also within the southeast Meadowlark plan area. And again, the Agricultural Land Commission has designated these areas as able to be removed from the ALR. A public hearing again was held on August 23rd. Notification of that meeting was given in accordance with the Local Government Act. And there was no presentations made by the applicant during the public hearing. Written comments from residents in the area indicated some concerns related to privacy, building housing and setbacks. The two people you recall attended the public hearing and spoke on about their concerns. Both speakers had submitted written correspondence. And of course, I did provide comments at that time. With respect to lack of infrastructure along Red Place. The applicant has extended the sewer line to accommodate the new property, the new lot. So the planning technician also provided some information relevant to the setbacks. And staff, of course, is of the opinion that the site is suitable for small lot size. And the size and use of the new lot is supported through our town policies and the Middle Art plan. Options before council are number one, that zoning amendment bylaw number 1085143 in 2022 be read a third time. And option two is that we consider this bylaw at a later date, and option three is that the council defeats the bylaw at third reading. Now, organizationally, the property needs to be removed from the ALR, so we further this proposal to the ALR, to the ALC to remove it from the ALR. There's no impact to the town's budget. Again, following third reading, will be forwarded to the ALR for exclusion as part of our application exclusion policy. Which is great. And then sustainability wise, the proposed amendment is consistent with the town's approach to sustainability as the area is currently being serviced. Consultation has taken place as part of the public hearing process, and further consultation with the city fire department and operational services will continue as part of the subdivision and building permit processes. And just for your information, I did confirm that the applicant has spoken with the neighboring property owner, and they are working together with respect to issues that were brought up, possibly with a drainage and that retaining structure. So they are working together, and I have confirmation from them on that.
I think that's a very good thing, and I think that it certainly makes sense for more people to consult and work together and collaborate. It just makes for good feelings all around. So I'm glad to hear that that's happened. So, council, yes,
Sure,
did you have a question?
I guess it's collaboration is great, but do you feel confident that they will work together and sign some type of agreement? Because we're kind of passing this before.
Well, thank you, Councillor, through the chair. Actually, the retaining structure is entirely on the neighbor's property. So it is actually the responsibility of the neighbor to ensure that it's taken care of. So we would look at that also as part of the building process. So yes, I do feel confident. The other thing is, of course, is that the area that they're going to put the new lot in previously contained the septic system. So that's been removed. So the additional waters that were going into that soil there, of course, is no longer taking place because they're hooked up to sewer now.
Okay, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm kind of against this. I would look at that property and where you go up the hill, like there's no side, like you said, there's no sidewalk. It's a hill, there's a corner, both ends of it coming in. So you come down Red Place, you go up the hill, or if you're coming down, then those people are falling right out in the middle of that. Like a 1 block short, so I just don't feel comfortable with it. People backing out there, just doesn't. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, is anybody else have any concerns about this or would like to comment on it? So we need a motion here on this, either 1, 2, or 3. What is your, go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
They can't hear
Councillor Rhodes, did you have something that you wanted
him.
to
He's
add?
talking away, but we can't hear him.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I was not muted, but anyway, I'd like to move option number 1 as it's worded in the report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Harvey, you're seconding that? Thank you. And so I will call the question on this unless there's somebody else that wants to speak on it. And all in favor of option 1? Against? So that's a 3 to 2. Is that?
Yeah,
Carried? That's carried, thank you. All right, so we will now go down to the permissive tax exempt bylaw, and is that Mr. Risling, are you going to do that or?
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you very much. This is bylaw that's passed annually. Legislation enables council to make decisions regarding the taxation of various entities. The administration is recommending that council give 3 readings to the permissive tax exemption bylaw 1380/2022. It essentially includes the exact same entities that were included last year. I think it's important to note that, you know, these entities do a lot of good work for the community, which is why I think council has and provided this tax exemption. And it's also important to note that whenever funding is provided to one entity, other ratepayers have to make up for that. So there's no free money. In fact, the exemptions that are provided within this report equate to well, just under $250,000. So that really does equate to basically 8-9% property tax increase or decrease, depending on how you want to look at it. So it's a good news story from the perspective of helping those entities that do a lot for the community, but there is a cost associated. And so therefore, this report comes to council for their consideration. Again, administration is recommending provide 3 readings to the permissive tax exemption bylaw.
Thank you. Council. Go ahead. You know, option 1. Is there a seconder? for that?
Second, I have a question.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded that we give first 3 readings to this. You have a question?
Yeah, do we ever get other nonprofits in town that own some land come forward and request tax exemption?
I haven't seen,
Okay, no, I just want to ask.
yeah, Director, unfortunately, Director Zackel's not here today, but I haven't seen anything come through correspondence, that.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'd like to ask a question of staff. The religious exemptions that we provide every year are part of a mandate from the provincial government, I believe. Really, at the end of the day, we don't have any choice in the matter. And I'm wondering if you could confirm that for me.
Unfortunately, I only know Alberta legislation. Alberta legislation, yes, religious entities are exempt. I'm assuming they would be the same here, and getting chance heads of yes, in the gallery here. So I'm assuming that's the case, but I will check and get back to council on the exact legislation requirements. But again, I think in most parts of the country, religious entities are exempt, and others are sometimes at the, well, most provinces at the discretion of council. So, but I will check that for you.
Mayor McCordoff, just one other,
Yes.
I know this is a little bit of an offbeat comment, but we go through this every year, and I'm wondering why this is even necessary for us to do this when it's been, you know, very clear from the province that we don't have any say in the matter. So why do we go through it every year? This is a pretty comprehensive report, and there's a lot of staff time put into it. And
It looks to me like by the significant dates that it needs to be, this bylaw needs to be adopted as per section 224 of the community charter. Maybe that is the reason that we have to do this every year. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, so section 2241 of the community charter says the council may by bylaw in accordance with this section exempt land or improvements referred to in subsection 2 from taxation under 197A of the town of Vesuvius property taxes. I just put in our name to the extent for a period and subject to the conditions provided in the bylaw.
So my assumption is we have to do it every year, Councillor Rhodes.
yeah, well, my question is why do we do this every year?
It's required by the community charter.
Correct. I understand that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we give first 3 readings to permissive tax exemption bylaw 1380/2022. Well, we've had moved and seconded, I agree.
Yes, Councillor Bennett moved it and Councillor King seconded the motion.
So I will call the question, all in favor? Against? CJ. Thank you very much. We have no new business, so we will go on to the report from our Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a few updates of interest. It's a couple weeks ago, we attended the UBCM conference. There was a lot of learnings there. Definitely meet a lot of additional new CAOs out there, which is a great experience. I had meetings with the destination Vesuvius. I met also with the golf club last couple of weeks. So again, reaching out there to some of our players out there and learning some of their strengths and some of their areas of opportunity. Some of the things that are happening within administration, just maybe some items of note. Coyotes are having the first game October 1st. They had a couple of exhibition games already, and there's been 150 people attending. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's a big community event. Also another item of interest, pot skating is moving back to Mondays and Wednesdays, and shin hockey Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll just do that plug for community. Terry Fox run occurred last weekend and had over 50 people participate. 7,000 was raised. So again, a good community event. Within corporate services, they're I think doing what everybody's expecting to do. They're working on the election. Just a reminder to the public that there's advanced voting October 5th and 12th, and voting day is October 15th, and you can do that in council chambers right here in the town office, and the times are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you. So yes, the advance is actually in the chambers, and the act, which is on October 5th and 12th. The actual voting day of October 15th is at the Sonaris Center. Director of Corporate Services also attended a meeting in Coldstream, some municipal employers. So it's a good session where we get a lot of good information, comparisons to other municipalities. Within the fire department, some good news there. We had firefighter Blake Laura received her firefighter 101 certification. I just wanted to bring that forward, another good news story. And we have still 9 members that require the certification, but 4 are already 95% complete. So I want to bring that forward and give the story. Another thing occurring within the fire department is Fire Prevention Week is coming up here, and all the public is welcome to attend. It's occurring on October 12th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the fire building. New businesses, I would always highlight those. Get to see things happening within our community. We have 2 Upple Electric and 2 Lowe's Painting, and I think that pretty much sums it up.
Well, thanks very much. Could we have a motion, please, to receive the CAO report? Councillor Harvey, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you very much. Now, council reports. Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, and I are each going to report on one thing from UBCM. So one of the ministerial meetings that we attended. So Councillor King, you're first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam. I just want to bring your attention that working on behalf of the town, we did meet with the 3 ministers that we felt was most important to our community: the health minister, housing minister, and municipal affairs. And through municipal affairs is where you lobby for money grants. As the mayor just mentioned, I'll talk about housing. When we approach them, we believe there's 2 or 3 options we could take. One would be getting some funding through the provincial government, partnering with a nonprofit and some town property, and moving forward with maybe a bigger project, 45, 50 suites. I'll just call them at this time. We also heard, though, the ministry actually looks at smaller projects too, if they're senior specific, say around 15 units, they could look at that also. And there's a third option, and I don't know if the town wants to get into it, but you could partner with a developer and the town property and properly give them some higher density, which then causes issues around parking. Maybe lower the DCCs would be a couple of options. So those are three options that the town is facing this time, but we are seriously looking at trying to possibly move one of those options forward. Also, involved with the Community Services Committee advisory last week that happened to be canceled, unfortunately. And then again, last night, the mayor, Councillor Ben, and myself were at the all candidates meeting last night. It did go 2.5 hours, I believe. Very interesting, great questions that were proposed that were already written, and some great questions from the audience. I think we were very capable and given some decent feedback to the public. And please get out and vote is all I can ask you. You can definitely choose who you want, but October 15 is very important in this democratic country. Your right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor King. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple things before, I did attend the Desert Park, so walk in the park out at the Desert Culture Center, and it's very interesting because you go up there and it's totally dark. They shut off all the lights, you can use a black light. You walk around through the desert, all the way around there, 1.5 kilometer trail. And it's just amazing what you can hear and see out there. In fact, it gets a little eerie, you get stuck out there, find without a light.
Did you see some animals?
No, not. Okay. But, then I attended the Desert Sun social AGM the other day, September 1st. Oliver just happened to be there, so I got to drop in. Then September 19th at the UBCM, I was at the municipal insurance meetings, and basically a lot of stuff was discussed there, were like dividends to members, budget, helping keep insurance costs lower. And this year it looks like we're gonna hold P down around 5%. So we got all these communities that also want to join the association and get cheaper insurance. So like you guys jumped on last year now. And looking for programs for municipalities to help service, to help reduce risks by helping towns look at different risks and figure out ways to lower costs. And a couple things that was pretty neat was the claims, was a discussion on what we learned as association from the loss from that, because it's a major catastrophe and there's a lot you can learn from that kind of thing. Then from UBCM, like Councillor King said, we met a lot of different people. I spent a day with opposition critics and Kevin Balkan, opposition leader, and online a lot of our concerns, like Councillor King said, about water, medical facilities, doctors, staff for the ambulance, lack of funding, affordable housing. And all came back to, I guess, what I mean with the Deputy Minister of Municipal Affairs, where the Mayor and Councillor King and our CEO, along with MLA Roland Russell, myself, sat back and said that we've had 3 applications sent into the government, and we've had 3 applications that are not being responded to. We want to know why. So he's going to look into it. We thought that was maybe a little unfair. And yesterday we had a meeting with our director and Jared, and basic part of it might be our not having doing enough with our water system, or not conservation of water and negative meters. But anyway, they're going to look into it, and hopefully in 2023, when they have more funding, we'll be on that list because we're involved. Okay, that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harvey, did you have anything to report?
I did attend a regional library board meeting a few weeks ago where the budget for next year was considered. It wasn't approved. There's one contentious item in there, but it'll come forward again next week because it has to be approved before the election. So, and again, like I think I reported before, there is a bit of an increase there, but with the increase in assessments and population, the per capita assessment for library services remains pretty much flat.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. I do not have a report.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just report on a couple of things. One is that I did attend the Terry Fox run. So did Councillor King, and actually he was running. So I hope somebody took a picture of that. I also last weekend was at the Pride Arts Festival down at Gyro, and I know that it was an absolutely perfect day. It was calm and sunny and warm, very well attended by a lot of people. And they, from all accounts, I was there for a couple of hours and went in the parade that they had along the walk and down Main Street. And they were having a good time. I didn't see all of the entertainers that were on the stage, but I did because I caught it on Global News. And they were very excited, and they were also excited to hear that the RMI funding will continue for a couple of years. So I'm sure they'll be applying again. There's one more farmers market. That is this Saturday, and then it's closed down for the year. So I'm outside here from 9 until 1. I also want to point out that that on September the 8th, Queen Elizabeth died. It caused quite well, people just couldn't believe it that it happened. She'd been in power as the Queen for over 70 years. We did, of course, lower the flags in front of Town Hall until her funeral, which was, I believe, on the 16th, and then they were put back again. And I also attended, I forgot which day, Councillor King was there as well, the service that the Legion put on to honor the Queen, and it was at the cenotaph. And I think it was the 16th or one day in there, and I'm not sure what it was. So that was very nice to see. There were a lot of people in town that were quite concerned about it, and we wanted to make sure that that was honored. Now at UBCM, one day the CAO and I attended meetings for the resort municipality, and it's a chance to sort of talk to CAOs and mayors attend plus staff. And we looked at some presentations from some of the other communities. Not all of them were there. I think it was a little bit of a mix up in time. Some people had other meetings to attend, so they weren't there, but normally all 14 municipalities attend. And the other thing we did was meet with the third ministry that we met with was the Ministry of Health. And while we were there meeting with ministry staff, Minister Dix was in a different building giving a presentation to everybody at UBCM. But our meetings with the ministers are set up before, or ministries are set up beforehand, so we couldn't be in two places at once. I did the next day meet with Minister Dix and MLA Rolly Russell and Mayor Johansson from Oliver, and we had quite a half-hour discussion with Minister Dix about the health situation in our area and South Okanagan General Hospital. So some of the things that Minister Dix had said in various speeches and talking to us was that he understood that there was definitely the doctor shortage, and that's certainly been on the news all the time. He did say that there were 38,000 more healthcare staff have been added to the province in the last couple of years. I think a lot of them were through COVID, and then of course there were some people that retired and some people that decided to leave their jobs. So it's not a net gain, I don't think, but it definitely shows that there are some things that are being done. He also pointed out that 900,000 people in the province are unattached. In other words, do not have a family doctor. Team-based care is key. And that seems to be what most people think would be the best way to do it, including the doctors. So the fewer barriers for foreign healthcare professionals. If you have been if you have been trained in another country, there are some countries that you have to come to Canada first and take extra training or pass some tests before you can practice. And they're trying to make that a little bit easier because there's lots of people from other countries who are very well trained. The fee for service model, which means that when you go into a doctor's appointment and they charge the healthcare system for your appointment. Some of them are short, some of them, if there's complex issues, might take 20 minutes versus 10. And the same fee applies to both appointments, usually. And so that is not working as we have an older population and young doctors don't really want to see that. Sometimes they want to have a contract, sometimes they want to do, you know, a different, an alternative model of fee increase, or working for it. So there, the collective agreement with the doctors is being handled right now by the Minister of Health. So that could, it may not come out till the end of the year or January. But we, that will be certainly something that might be of interest once it is signed. And there, he agreed, and we had mentioned it as well, there's underutilization of other health professionals, such as pharmacists. And I know that pharmacists have been given a few extra jobs right now because they can give inoculations at the pharmacy. They can also provide COVID information and COVID shots, and that, I think I agree with that. We definitely need to use our healthcare professionals to the maximum and not just depend on a doctor to deal with everything. So that, and they did agree that working together and sharing and collaborating is really important. And so, you know, we need to find ways to do that. That was the Minister of Health. We also, council, attended the BC Liberal Party primary care plan, which has several issues on it that are sort of dealt with by both sides. But increasing compensation for operating costs, expanding doctor training, and actually, the minister had said there were 60 more spots for that already done. Collaborative team-based care, both of them agree on that one for sure. And you know, a health human resources plan, providing compensation for unpaid and indirect work, simplifying the fee schedule. So both the Liberal Party and the NDP are definitely on the same page on some issues, and that's a good thing, working together. So that was my my part of the report. I think that it was nice to be in Whistler and meet with a lot of people that we hadn't seen for a couple of years, listen to many of the speeches, and we went through all the resolutions, and it was very efficiently done. And many of the resolutions that had been endorsed by UBCM were passed, so we're okay with that. They've done their homework before, it was easier for us to deal with. So that's all I had today for my report. And I'm going to now go to in camera. And I would like a motion, please, that pursuant to section 91 of the community charter, a part of the council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to or is one of the following. 91E, disposition of land. 91G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. And 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. So could I have a motion, please, that we do it? Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you very much. And